Welcome back to the weekly stream. I am Andrew, creative director here at Shiny Shoe, and we have our special guest star here today, all the way from the East Coast.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, I'm Brendan. I am a game designer, work on a variety of different things, including the lore and all the kind of weird stuff that you see in the worlds. There are reasons for those things that we can dive into or decide not to dive into, depending on what kind of mystery and annoyances we're going to want to
ask your questions.
Yeah. Whether or not they get answered, we'll see.
Oh. And I'm Cami. I'm the community manager here, and I'll be also playing the game while we're talking.
Yeah.
And like Andrew said, we've got Brendan here, who's our lore master, and I'm so excited to hear because I have questions myself. And
are you going to ask?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to ask you at least a few.
Ambush questions.
I know. I'm going to ask you at least a few to get started. And so let's let me get into the game, and then I'll ask you my very first questions. Yeah. All right. So as we get started, how about you tell us a bit about so what is the world of Inkbound? And who are you,
right?
Specifically.
So Inkbound, this takes place in the world called the Athenium. That's something that we've talked about, I think, on stream before, probably the hub world that you're going to inhabit. But it's something that we're not showing yet. But the Athenium is a place where all the stories that are written with ink become real. So the world that you're in right now is a story that had been written by somebody that you may or may not meet in the game, but has become a real place that you can inhabit. The things that you meet in it are real things. And the way that this happens is with the ink that you see around these different islands, as well as your quill, which KWIL, just to make things more confusing, is the little floating ball that you've got next to you that's flying around. So we can talk about those a little bit more. But yeah, stories are real, basically, is kind of the main thing here.
What do you recommend? Because you're here, you're playing with us. What do you want to? Yeah, is there one that?
What are you doing? What Scavenge Thicket, and let's do the Troll.
All right.
Yeah.
So what are these? What's that choice we just made?
Yeah, so these are kind of events, is what we call them internally, but there are these characters that you meet along the way, these fading stories. So your goal as a character called a Needless is to save all of these fading stories. So there is some conflict going on in the Athenium that is threatening to erase everything that's ever been written. And these are remnants of those stories. So your goal is to find them, to re-anchor them to the world, and to complete quests for them, do things for them that's going to help bring them back. But each of them have their own kind of little vignettes of why they exist. So here we have a troll author, this guy who really wants to write and become an author, but has been told by all these people that he can't do it. So you got to go mess up those bullies.
Brendan's personal story.
This is my personal story, yeah.
Right from the heart.
As everything does. So you'll meet a bunch of these. In the different worlds that you'll travel to, there are different fading stories, each with their own story associated with them.
You can go through and break all his books.
Yep.
Yeah, I really need it.
It's like, I want to help you, but
you need that loot. You can't.
And I need some healing orbs right now.
He understands.
Oh.
Yeah, he did some damage.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. 5 from the Carver or the Garden?
Well, the Carvers, they're both kind of a little janky right now.
They are a little jank. Let's go to the Garden.
Yeah, let's go to the Garden.
Through here.
Okay.
Also, we have questions in chat. You gotta,
start. Squeege. What's up, Brandon? So, how did I get my start writing? It really, I don't know, it just kind of happened over time. I think we'd worked on a game a long time ago called Death's Door, which is a Twitch-only game. And it was really just a few of us, and we were making weird stuff all the time. We needed to put out content. And I've been writing for a long time, but writing games is a very different kind of thing. So Death's Door was more of the introduction to that, and where we really started to get interested in that kind of writing. So, yeah.
How would you say, how would you describe how different it is? For example, should I click on?
In terms of writing for games?
Yeah.
So if you're writing something like a book or, anything sort of linear media, you can just write whatever you want. You can, you have total ownership over what you're going to be doing. Here you have so many different other things to consider. What's the gameplay? What are the things that are going to be fun? What are the things that, what are you doing? Monster Train is another example. You're dealing with these cards. What's the story with this? What's the story with, the actions that you're doing in Inkbound? Andrew complicates my job quite a bit.
I do. I
know. He's we're going to do this cool thing. Figure out why we're doing it. It's okay, well, we're going to do it. So that is There's
Or-
just a lot of different things to
Yeah,
consider,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
makes it more fun and more challenging, but just very, very different.
And people don't necessarily want to read as much. Like
Right.
you're
Yeah.
not sitting down to play a game to read things. You're sitting there to play a game, but also sometimes read
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of the stuff
so yeah.
is in the background for sure.
Okay.
We're surfacing stuff like right here. This is an NPC called the gardener that you'll meet and talk to throughout your.
Should've-
Yeah, you can click
All
it
right,
if you want.
yeah.
We won't stop you.
So yeah, we don't have
I
to
will
do
not
this
do
too
the
much,
voices.
but yeah.
People can do that later on the
Through a tape
YouTube.
frame.
Exactly.
But yeah, there are various NPCs that you're going to meet throughout your journey in the world and have their own reasons for existing, their own conflicts with other NPCs. May or may not have written the worlds that you go into.
Well, okay, so this leads me to another question that I have. So we already went, we saw the Fading Troll, and now we have the Gardener.
Mhm.
And so how are they different? Like,
Right. So the things that are written. So the troll was a story that was written by somebody. It doesn't actually. That troll does not exist as a real person. They just exist within the story. But the gardener is someone who exists within the world. She is what we call a finder, which is someone who has a quill and writes and creates these new worlds. And she is quote unquote a real person, much like a lot of the people that you'll meet in the Athenium. Other people that you'll meet throughout the worlds, but most of those people have been scattered over time. So you're kind of coming into the world at a point after a large conflict has happened. So a lot of things have been broken, and these stories are under threat of being erased, like I said. So you're kind of coming in the aftermath when you're picking up the pieces of all these things kind of blowing up. Yeah.
so we're about to start a combat. Andrew, do you
Sure.
want to talk a little bit
yeah,
about
let's
playing
dive
what?
in.
Yeah,
So we
like
made a change since you guys last watched us play, hung out here. We changed how movement works. So before you got to move basically a little bit per action, and we made a change here so it actually interacts with our resource system, our mana system. So you can move as far as you want, but every bit of movement you do outside of a small little grace area is going to cost you 1 mana. So those little arrows that appear when Cami's running around, those each kind of indicate that you're spending 1 mana to get that far. So
per arrow.
Per arrow.
Yeah.
So
Oh boy.
You can spend a whole turn just moving around.
right, if you don't necessarily want to do it, it's going to cost you. You don't get to get things quite as much.
Stay away.
Yeah, so basically we just want to make it a little more like a choice, like you're deciding what to do, if you want to move, if you want to attack, you don't get to just move for free. So we're trying to keep like the level of power there, but put more of that control in the player's hands. So you do get to move further per sort of like action or per point than you did before.
Sorry, I'm looking through their abilities a bit.
Sure, yeah, no, mouse over. What is that? What are they weak to?
We got
Yeah. So they're going to take less damage from magic and more from elemental. We're all physical, so I think that doesn't matter to us.
okay.
And then those bombs are just kind of popping out. So,
You're close to unlocking that ultimate smash again, so you can...
right. So we made another change. Actually, picking up that orb will give it to you. So picking up the orb reduces cooldowns. So if you use an ability from here, just use bonk. We'll get 1 mana back, and we'll get a cooldown down, and now you can smash again. And maybe take
Oh, here we go. All right. Ooh.
There we go. Go
Nice.
burn,
We're close,
get a
we're close.
smash.
Okay.
Can you?
No.
Oh, that's so
Oh, no.
close.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they died to
Yeah,
the burn.
different
They
burn.
died to the burn.
Nice.
And our resolution
Fantastic.
for combat there. Ooh, oh, there we go.
Oh!
Yeah, something's weird. We'll have to fix that.
Oh no.
Oh no, victory. Oh, you also completed the quest.
Probably
Good.
got weird stutter
Okay.
remote or something.
Shaheen asks, can you undo actions or movement before the end of your turn? Not really. Obviously until you use an action, you're not going to move there. You can kind of run around. But because especially in multiplayer, like there's sequences, you can't like if you took an action, then I took an action, then you took an action. What does it mean to undo your previous action since I've acted, since you've acted? So, not really something we could do. But hopefully, like we give you a lot of preview information, so you generally know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Pretty
So-
strong.
Sure, very strong right now.
Lore question. How
Sure.
do the enemies play into the story?
Right. So they are remnants of these stories that had been written, and they, for some reason or another that we probably won't talk about too much, do want to erase all these stories. Their motive is really hidden from you. No one really knows why this is happening, or no one is really fessing up to knowing. So part of especially the beginning parts of the game is to start to figure out why are they doing what they're doing, and start to understand why they exist in the first place. Okay. So an intentionally cagey answer. Too.
Play the game.
Yeah, play the game.
Play the game. And all right, what we're gonna do?
So, but they're not the main villain. Is that who we're gonna see here?
The main villain we will not see today.
Okay.
We may not see for a bit, or we may see early on.
Right.
A lot of that is going to be pretty obfuscated.
Do we want to continue?
Sure.
All right. Okay, great.
Keep playing for a minute. We'll take any more questions. Otherwise, we'll just kind of do another battle. Maybe we can show a little preview of the next area, and then wind things down a little bit. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I have a question.
Any more questions?
Sure.
Yeah, I have.
The hot
okay, so how is the story? Because this is a living game, right? And so how do the stories play into that? So how is it structured around this concept of living game? Basically?
Right. So we've talked about, the Athenium has all the stories that have ever been written, or has just a crazy number of them, which gives us a lot of opportunity to explore different kinds of stories as well. Some of the stuff that we've seen so far is pretty, you're in a forest and there are kind of strong fantasy tropes associated with that. But we have talked about and may see some things that get heavy into sci-fi or completely different genres. But because they are stories that people have written, it means that we can get crazy with those things and get even wilder. In terms of it being a living game, that means that you are going to find and lose these stories over time. So this is a living world and a living ecosystem with people and NPCs and characters that have different motivations and different conflicts between each other. So those are going to change over time. And it's not just something that you're going to play once and then restart. There is kind of a timeline that is going parallel to ours as you're playing the game.
That would be as bad as I thought.
No, we're going to change this boss recently. So every turn that the battle lasts, it gets a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
So you can kind of, take some hits early, but it does keep powering up. So
I feel like I've been traumatized by this one sometimes. I
don't hold your breath. Oh, this guy. Take you out.
Maybe. Can I get them both?
Oh, nice. Pull that guy out.
Okay.
Make it stomped right here.
Okay.
Pretty good damage, though. Yeah.
Might be able to take you up one.
Oh,
nice.
No. That's a great animation, too, by the way. That's
right.
Great. Yeah, I love that. Very cool. Okay. So, what can you tell us a bit about this guy? Because he's a boss. Do you want to talk about him a bit?
I don't want to talk about him too
Okay.
much. But Pepper Titan does have a question. Are there people working for the evil side that aren't ink monsters? Yes, there are. So the ink monsters are some of them are called inklings. We refer to them as collectively as the Unraveled. Some of them are autonomous. Many of the ones that you see like these now are largely not. They don't really have too much personality of their own, but are being controlled by somebody higher up, and whether or not they are ink related or not is kind of still left a mystery. But whether or not there are people who are outside of the ink that are considered evil, definitely. So I think evil is kind of a dirty word. There are, gray morals, gray area, all that kind of stuff.
Maybe we're the evil ones.
Maybe we're the evil ones,
I mean, just diving in here, smashing
the friends we made along the way.
Right.
Oh.
Cranberry God. Can the players work for the Unraveled as well, or are we entirely against them? So earlier I said you are a needless. What that means is that you come to the world, you are really looked down upon. You're not someone who has a lot of power, at least from the viewpoint of everybody that you're meeting in the world. You're kind of trying to figure this out on your own. And at the beginning of the game, you are ostensibly working for the people in the Athenium. You're trying to stop the Unraveled from doing what they're doing, from saving these stories. And really that seems like the goal that you should have in mind. Whether or not you can work for the Unraveled is something that may come a little bit later. There is, like I was saying, there's not really a clean black or white answer to any of this. There are reasons for why they're doing what they're doing. So whether or not you can help them might be something that happens in the future.
These all sound really interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Did you want to talk about this? This is a new game.
Yeah.
Upgrades? I don't think we've ever gotten this far. So
Yeah.
it's old or new. Everything's new, guys. No, you're getting an upgrade here at the end of, and we actually made it a legendary, made it a big upgrade at the end of each area, region. We don't really have a game name yet for what these are. Anyway, so we reached the finished point of the edges. We beat this boss. We're going to step into the next area, show you what's up. But yeah, when you do that, when you beat one of these bosses, you get a pretty cool upgrade that we were having a hard time picking because they're all so cool. So, Cami, I think you just have to choose one. Yeah, no, don't choose wrong. We might die if we.
I know, it's like, where are we healing? Where's the? Oh. Okay.
Where is that healing?
I know,
we also kind of trimmed the healing in general. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we.
There might still be one here.
Fish are still good though. Oh, that's a double
Always
fish.
a good thing to have. Oh, yeah, double fish there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Still around.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can grab those. Go up here. I think there's another little upgrade you get. Yeah.
Sure,
We're just
okay.
gonna skip that. That's
Ooh,
X.
that's nice.
Yeah, we'll fix that. So this is an ability. You can get an ability from your subclass or an ability from kind of our generic pool. Something that shields your team, something that gives mana to your team, something with a lot of words that I'm not going to read. All of these things.
Probably this. I think I need shield. All right. Okay.
Oh,
I think this is an area that we haven't.
Right, so
Really
let's click on it, let's show
Alright.
it, and then we can just shut things down and leave people speculate. So, hey, we're in the proving grounds. Look, it's different. Yeah, you keep moving through spaces. You can go to different areas every run, different enemies to fight. But I think we're going to save that for a new stream. And if there's any more questions, you guys can throw it our way.
Yeah,
if you want to use an emote or something, we can party here for a second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Is there
do you have a
anything
dance setup?
that you know, is there anything that you feel like we haven't touched on that you definitely want players to know a bit about?
Not at this point, I think.
Okay.
I think that, there's a lot
The
of
less
stuff
they know,
in the
the better.
game. The less they know. I
Yeah.
mean, like you're saying, people want to read. Sometimes they don't want to read. Get in the game and then read all you want.
There's a question. Yes. Also, speaking of which, getting in the game, we have started to do some more invites. So right now, I would say, we're kind of inviting some people who are active in Discord. So hang out with us in Discord if you're interested. We're talking about other ways. Like we'll start using our email list and doing some random invites that way. So if you're interested, if you have friends who are interested, remind them to kind of stop by. Because we are going to start expanding we're still kind of pre-alpha, alpha stage, but we want more testers. So we are going to start doing that.
And that involves, so like if you get, like once we invite you, I host weekly playtest sessions, so you get to play with me,
Right.
And other playtesters. If you never want to talk to me, that's really fine. But that's not deeply wounding in any way. But so like I host these weekly playtest sessions. So yeah, join the Discord. And ask questions, interact with us a bit. So I see you, and then pretty much like I'm starting to send invites out this week. So yeah, it's really cool.
And then Pepper Titan asks, are the classes bespoke, like hero shooter style? Yeah, they are. They're the class. The ability pool is like self-synergistic to some degree. There's different ways to upgrade it and expand it. And you can also mix and match in different ways. In some ways that we're kind of testing out still. But it's definitely you're playing kind of a hero character that you also get to build during the course of one of these runs. You build it up.
And from the lore perspective as well, they are characters that exist in the world, some that you will meet.
All right. Well, I don't think I'm going to survive the proving ground, so we'll probably have to stop.
Sure. Yeah, we can keep training. And then,
So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that sort of whetted your appetite for the stories that you'll be playing through in Inkbound. If you want to sign up for beta access, or just learn more about the game, that's inkboundgame.com. I'll be posting the recording of the stream on Shiny Shoe Games' YouTube account. Also, if you're not already part of the Discord community, it's discord.gg/Inkbound. And and follow us on Twitter too at Play Inkbound. So
That's the list.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you. It's so exciting to see you here on our side of the country. It's really great. And see you next time.